bright, sunny Sunday afternoon in downtown Cincinnati, and another huge crowd through the turnstiles today. The finale of this three-game series between the San Francisco Giants, and look who now wears their uniform. The former Red Orlando Cabrera traded late last night from Cleveland to the Giants. He's in the lineup here today. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. Well, after the 4 dismal days against the Mets, all of a sudden some life from this ball club, Chris, winning the first 2 games of this series, and their ace on the mound today.
Well, what can make you feel any better than beating the reigning world champions when they come into town for 3 games straight? And they have a great chance of doing that. On paper, it looks like the Reds are really having an advantage today. Johnny Cueto is throwing the ball as well as anybody in the league. But right now, they've got 3 teams ahead of them in the National League Central, and they've got to start taking care of business. Don't be too infatuated with looking at the scoreboard or the standings. The Reds are 6.5 back, but they've got 3 teams. So if they gain on Pittsburgh or they gain on St. Louis, that's good enough. You've got to start putting teams on the other side of you between you and that top spot in the league.
And we'll see if they can make it a series sweep with their main man on the mound, Johnny Cueto. Chris Welsh will talk about him and break it all down leading up to the first pitch next.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
About 5 minutes away from the first pitch here today at Great American Ballpark. The weather quite pleasant. Still a little warm, but what about the rest of the day? Let's check in now with Jeff Creighton.
Well, the Reds have managed to take 2 from the Giants. Great American Ballpark, it's hot in more ways than one. That first pitch, we're looking at 88 degrees. By the 7th inning, 91, 92 by the final out. If there's any silver lining here, is that humidity levels will be a bit lower. Go Redlegs.
The Redlegs indeed, and they have their right guy on the mound today, Chris Welsh.
Well, he defeated the Giants back on June the 9th. One of the better games that he's pitched this year. Really dominated. 8 strikeouts and not give up a run at all. But, you know, we're getting used to that with Johnny Cueto out there. He, I'm sure, is very pumped up about going out there trying to nail down his 7th win of the year. He will be faced by Barry Zito, a left-hander who last time got beat up pretty good by the Philadelphia Phillies in somewhat of an emergency start. But his last few games have been horrible. His earned run average over the last 2 up around 12. So the Reds are going to have to be very patient with Zito. He doesn't throw very hard. A matchup of a lefty and a righty here at Great American Ballpark today.
A giant finale for the Redlegs, trying to get out of here with a 3-game sweep before making their way to Houston and Chicago. First pitch right around the bend.
Is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. By your local Ford dealer. Ford, drive one. By the Regional Tourism Network. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time.
Waiting for the Reds to take the field on this bright, sunny Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati. The Reds winning the opener in extra innings in 13 innings. 4-3 the final. Then roughed up starter Madison Bumgarner in a 5-run first inning yesterday en route to a 7-2 win. So Johnny Cueto will lead him out onto the field looking for the 3-game series sweep with the Giants in town. And let's take a look at Bruce Bochy's starting lineup here today. Aaron Rowan is in center field. Jeff Kevinger again at second. Carlos Beltran in right. Pablo Sandoval down at third. Nate Shearholtz again in left. And the recently acquired Orlando Cabrera, the shortstop, batting sixth. A ladder third of Brandon Belt. Eli Whiteside catching. Barry Zito. Johnny Cueto, a 6-4 record, making his 16th start. Has a pair of complete games. And that minuscule 1.88 ERA.
He's exactly the guy you want to send out there on a day when you have a chance for a 3-game sweep, especially a sweep of the reigning world champion Giants. And he gets it done in a simple fashion, Johnny Cueto does. I mean, he's essentially changed in his strikeouts of the past for ground balls here this year. His ground ball ratio has gone way up. And it seems that he just pitches those right-handers right inside on the thumbs. Here's the way he gets it done as far as the scouting report in numbers. His fastball around 93 miles an hour, throws it about 55% of the time. Then comes a slider. and then he'll use a changeup and curveball. In fact, the last couple of starts, he has used that curveball more and more as he becomes comfortable. But the biggest change we've seen in Johnny Cueto is that delivery of his has changed dramatically from last year to the beginning of the year, and then now he resembles Louis Tiant. I'm not sure if he knows who Louis Tiant is, but he certainly has got a big kind of turn rotation in his delivery. It hides the ball, gets him strong over the rubber, and he's getting better and better, it seems like, every time out.
All right, so here we go. They say play ball, and Aaron Rowan is set to dig in. Reds wearing their red jerseys as they do on Sunday afternoon home games, and the first pitch from Cueto is a fastball in the inside corner, strike one. And we are underway. What about our home plate umpire today, Marty Foster?
Well, Marty Foster's a 12-year Major League umpire, born in Denver, now lives in Wisconsin. He's a huge Badger fan, and his number is 62.85. That's the percentage of strikes that Marty Foster calls.
Well, got a little extra information today.
In fact, he rarely misses the University of Wisconsin Badger game. When he can make it, he'll be there.
Well, that means he's had to have met down the road our old buddy Barry Alvarez, longtime great football coach there, now the athletic director at Wisconsin.
Last pitch right there is exactly what I was talking about with Johnny Cueto. He loves to throw that fastball, a two-seamer that sinks and goes down and in towards right-handers, and he throws it so hard that it's really a tough pitch for righties to negotiate. I mean, they're torn between getting out of the batter's box and swinging the bat.
Rowan at 246, 4 home runs and 21 runs batted in, and there's a roller that is a fair ball. Ramon Hernandez with time and throws on Novato, 1 out. Take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Getting used to seeing this trio: Heisey, Stubbs, and Bruce. Todd Frazier to start at third alongside Edgar Renteria. The right side naturally of Phillips and Votto, and Hernandez hanging the signs for Johnny Cueto. Probably see a little bit more and more of Todd Frazier at third base, or at least as long as Scott Rowland is unable to go, still on the disabled list. Jeff Keppinger off the second base bag, and then it shoots into short left center field. Boy, you rarely ever see that happen.
Well, you talk about hitting it right back up the middle. You can't be more precise than that. And Jeff Keppinger is just a pure hitter. Looking for a fastball on the first pitch, gets it, doesn't try to do too much, and just hits it right back up the middle. He's been a nice acquisition for this Giant ball club.
Chris, you find it sort of hard to believe sometimes, and of course Keppinger was here with the Reds, and the one time he did get a chance to play every day is the year he hurt his knee, you may remember. About a month into the season, he was knocking the cover off the ball. But man, after watching him again here for the last 3 days, it is really hard to believe he has not been a regular player more frequently in his major league career.
Well, he's always been a shortstop, Tom, and I think that the gripe on Keppinger when he was here playing shortstop is that they didn't really like his range, his defense. It was no problem at all with his offense. So they traded Jeff Keppinger for Drew Sutton, who could play a little better shortstop.
There's a double play ball off the bat of Carlos Beltran. And the Reds will come to bat after his scoreless top half of the first against Johnny Cueto. Reds coming to bat, bottom half of the first inning. Let's take a look at Dusty Baker's starting lineup. Drew Stubbs in center, Edgar Renteria at short, Joey Votto at first, Brandon Phillips, Jay Bruce, Chris Heisey in the middle, and a ladder third of Ramon Hernandez, Todd Frazier, and Johnny Cueto. At one time, Barry Zito was among the best pitchers in the American League. Signed that whopping free agent contract with the Giants, and it's not gone according to plan.
Well, he no longer throws his fastball what he once did when he was with the Oakland A's, and even though he's pitching in a pretty good ballpark for pitchers, his record is 3-3. His earned run average has skyrocketed over the last couple of starts. This may be all it wrote for Barry Zito unless he has a really great outing. His fastball average is about 84. He throws a lot of curveballs up there. You'll see that. You'll also see a lot of changeup. So the Reds ought to be very patient at the plate with a guy like Zito. Don't expect to be challenged with the fastball. Sit back, look for something off speed, and then make your adjustment early on.
Oh, and 1 to Stubbs, a .251 batter, 13 home runs and 36 runs batted in. Another very good crowd on hand here today. They have the Christian rock band Mercy Me playing after the ball game today. So you buy a ticket, you come to the game, you get to watch the Reds and the Giants and hang around for some music afterwards. Of course, it's a big music weekend in Cincinnati. Jazz Festival going on just down the trail at the stadium. One and two to Drew Stubbs. Nearly a 100-point differential in terms of batting average this year for Drew Stubbs against left-handers than the right-handers. Naturally, the power numbers are going to be clearly and heavily weighted against the righties because you see so more of them. 2-2 to Stubbs.
That is the pitch right there that if Barry Zito is going to have a good day here at Great American Ballpark, he's got to get that curveball over, especially the backdoor curve, the one that looks like it's going to be a ball and then comes in and hits that outside corner.
Up through the middle, Keppinger will throw it but never gets Stubbs. Infield hit.
You know, you have a tendency as a pitcher sometimes to let balls go thinking that your infield is going to be there to pick you up. Zito had a chance to grab that ball, and you hear he kind of alligator armed it thinking, hey, I've got somebody back there. But what he didn't remember is the fact that Drew Stubbs just boot scoots it down the line about as fast as anybody.
So now Edgar Renteria, batting average at .240 with a home run and 20 batted in. He was a hero, of course, in the series opener, the bottom of the 13th. That base hit down the right field line to plate the game-winning run. What about the running game, Chris Welsh, with Zito on the mound?
Well, he's had some attempts to run, and they've done a pretty good job in shutting it down. He's had 4 successful stolen bases and 3 throw-em-outs.
Long look over there at Stubbs, and a first pitch fastball in there, strike.
He is the kind of guy, though, Tom, that you would be tempted to put a hit and run on from time to time because he's not a high strikeout pitcher. He throws breaking balls, and if a hitter knows all he's got to do is stay on top of the ball, hit it down on the ground, you can do that against a guy with Zito's stuff. Of all the Reds, Edgar Renteria has had a fair measure of success against Zito. 4 for 9 plus 3 walks. That's an on-base percentage close to 600.
See, 5 doubles, 7 runs batted in, a batting average up over 300 in the last 10 games for Edgar Renteria.
And I got to figure that's why he's in the lineup today, because he's hit Zito very well. Played last night. Was a hero in the other night's ball game when the Reds won it in the 13th.
One and one on Renteria, and a roller foul. And now Zito ahead of Edgar, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Giants lost a game in the National League West last night to Arizona. Diamondbacks beating the Dodgers, and again it was Micah Owings on the mound last night. Owings going to 5-0 on the season.
Good for him.
Good for him is right. Beat Chad Billingsley in the second game of that 3-game set, so the rubber game is later on this afternoon. Well, Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro told you during Reds Live the trade deadline officially comes to an end about 2.5 hours from now, 4 o'clock Eastern time, before you can make trades without worrying about players going through waivers. That one is shot into right field, a base hit by Renteria. So here come the Reds. They have scored first inning runs in 3 consecutive games. 2 in the finale against the Mets. They got 2 in the opener against the Giants and 5 in the first inning last night.
Well, this at bat with Edgar Renteria against Zito gives you a real good glimpse as to why Renteria has had such good success against Zito in his career. He likes to hit the breaking ball, likes to slap it the other way. He waited a long time on every pitch in that at bat, fouled a couple of them off, but knowing that Zito didn't have the fastball to zip it by him.
Now Joey Votto at 317, 16 home runs, 64 runs batted in. First pitch breaking ball in the outside corner. Field, a base hit. They're going to wave around Stubbs, and the Reds have now made it 4 games in a row where they scored in the opening inning. 1-0. Drew Stubbs safe at home. He's safe. He's secure.
New York life. Boy, not only scoring the first inning, but how about scoring with nobody out? Just a fastball right there trying to sneak something by, maybe getting a ball on the ground at somebody, but it goes in the hole between first and second. Stubbs will easily score right there, and the Reds pick it up right where they left off.
Out of play, the first pitch to Brandon Phillips. The Giants defensively, brought to you by Ford, have Rowand in center, flanked by Shearholtz and Beltran. Cabrera, his first game as a Giant at short, joining Keppinger up the middle, Sandoval and Belt on the corners, and Eli Whiteside back in the lineup. Chris Stewart started the game here last night. First inning ERA very high for Zito. He's had a lot of problems at the start of games. Earned run average up over 11 in the first inning. Really not too bad after that. That is a foul ball. Very close. Two on, nobody out. Nothing at 2 on Brandon Phillips. And that gets away, and both runners are going to advance.
That may seem like a little thing, but that's actually huge, especially for Barry Zito out there. I mean, he's looking for an out here, and he's just hoping that he can make a good pitch to Brandon Phillips, maybe get a ball on the ground off one of those curveballs. And you see Whiteside went down to block it, did everything you should, leaned forward, tried to make sure that the ball would hit his chest and stay where it was, but because of the spin on the ball from the curveball, that's why it hit his chest protector and bounced away.
1-2 to Phillips. Sails high and outside. A couple of long fly balls, and you have a 3-0 lead lickety-split here this afternoon. This one will bring in 1 run into right center. Both runners are going to tag. Throw into third. No chance to get Votto there. Scoring Renteria. Well done by Phillips. 2-0.
Really good job by Brandon Phillips right there. You know, you always have a better chance of hitting a fly ball when you're thinking about hitting it the other way. If you think about pulling the ball too much, oftentimes you're going to roll over on it, hit a ground ball. If you hit one right back to the third baseman, you may not get a run in right there. I always remember growing up watching Tony Perez do just that. It seems like with a man on third, he'd get that runner in by hitting it right in the same spot Phillips did right there. Nice easy ball to right center field and score that run.
Now the Giants going to bring their infield in with a runner at third and 1 out. Jay Bruce, the batter. And Zito misses outside and low. Reds taking it right to the defending world champions in each and every game of this series. For so many games this year, we've watched the Reds fall behind in the first inning. Chris, what a difference when it's the Reds scoring regularly in the first inning.
I mean, everybody in the ballpark feels different, especially that guy.
Good piece of hitting again by Jay Bruce, and it's a 3-0 game.
Jay Bruce has been kind of pulling off the ball, and I know that Brooke Jacoby's been talking to him about stay in there. Keep that right shoulder closed as long as you possibly can, and he'll put a good level swing on it. His timing is good. His foot is down. He moves to the ball, puts a good level swing on it right back through the middle, as shown by our Exmo, brought to you by Performance Honda.
Here's Chris Heisey at 244, 12 home runs, 38 runs batted in, and he looks at a strike. Heisey had a 2-run single in that 5-run first inning last night against Bumgarner. And Chris getting a chance, as Dusty Baker said he would when this homestand began after the trade of Johnny Gomes, to get the lion's share of the playing time out in left field. And on this homestand, Heisey, 5 hits in 26 at-bats. He does have 5 runs batted in. Oh, and 2 to Heisey. There goes Bruce, and they have him caught. Belt throws down, and Bruce's old teammate Cabrera there to put the tag on him, second out of the inning.
Well, you know, when you get picked off when you're stealing, that's one thing, because against the left-hander, oftentimes the runner will just go on the first move. He picked the wrong time to go.
Sandoval plants, throws in time, inning over. But another good start for the Redlegs. A 3-run first and a 3-0 lead. Reds getting some of their offensive groove back. Getting big base hits, scoring early in games. We mentioned today now makes it 4 consecutive games they've scored in the first inning. I mean, the Reds have a chance here over the next week to really start putting together their first quote-unquote run that they've had really since the first month of the year when they got up to 8 games over 500. They come into the game today 3 under. But you've got teams that have not only had very poor seasons in the next 2 opponents, the Astros and the Cubs, but in the Astros case, where you'll play starting tomorrow night, you know, of the 2 or 3 guys in their lineup that really scared the daylights out of you. And it's not to say their replacements coming up from the minor leagues can't hurt you, because anything can happen. But the bottom line is, if you're playing the Astros without Hunter Pence and Michael Bourne, those are big hits in their lineup. Sandoval, a weak pop up, short left, out to get it, Renteria. Well, every night for Reds baseball, get ready. 30 minutes before each game. Our Emmy Award-winning rendition of Reds Live, right here on Fox Sports Ohio with Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro. Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Shearholtz at 279, 7 home runs and 38 runs batted in. And Cueto quickly ahead of him at no balls and 2 strikes.
Well, the one thing that the Reds have done in this series against the Giants, especially the Giants' left-handed hitters, is get that ball inside. When they go inside, they're not missing out over the plate. They're missing off the plate. Cueto just finished burying a slider down and in. Looks like that they want to go back away right here. Hernandez kind of gives Shearholtz a feeling, hey, I'm coming in and then I'm going to move back away. So not trying to give away the pitch location as to where he's setting up. Changeup.
Right back in with a 94-mile-per-hour fastball, and Shearholtz fouls it off. It remains at a ball and 2 strikes. Well, talking about that upcoming Astros series, the Reds will get their 2 best pitchers this season in the first 2 games of the series. Bud Norris with an ERA right around 3.5. Wandy Rodriguez the same. We have not seen Jordan Lyles. He'll pitch a 3rd game of the series. A Reds counter with Arroyo, Bailey, and Dontrell Willis. Shearholtz somehow, some way hanging around. Orlando Cabrera waits in the on-deck circle. Reds leading 3-0. We're in the 2nd inning. That's pulled foul again. An 8-pitch at bat so far for Nate Shearholtz against Johnny Cueto. And number 9 coming up, and Cueto hoping this battle inside the war comes to an end. It won't. There'll be a 10th pitch. This at-bat just won't end. Pitch number 11 in this at bat to Shearholtz. Straight away center field. Drifting back is Stubbs. He'll have room. 2 out. Line drive caught by Heisey to retire Cabrera in a 1-2-3 second inning for Johnny Cueto. Baseball writer Hal McCoy. Plus, Hal will share a story about Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner, who is featured on our new show Boys in the Hall, airing right after the game today. FoxSportsOhio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. Reds 3, Giants nothing. Reds bat in the bottom of the second inning against Giants starter Barry Zito. Reds had 3 hits to begin the first inning, including an RBI by Joey Votto, a sac fly RBI by Brandon Phillips, and a run-scoring single by Jay Bruce. Latter third in the batting order here in the second, starting with Ramon Hernandez. Hard hit ball. What a pickup by Cabrera. Took away a hit from his old buddy Ramon. And Ramon looking out there at him.
Orlando Cabrera is a player. It seems like everywhere he goes, the team that he's with ends up winning. He's done that ever since he joined the Boston Red Sox and they won the World Series a few years ago. And he makes a nice play against that hard hit ball from Ramon Hernandez. Got to speak with him briefly before the ball game today. Of course, he was just traded last night from the Indians down here to the Giants.
Ball hit hard by Todd Frazier, and a nice running catch by Shearholtz. Of course, the Indians were in Cleveland, so heck, it was nothing for Cabrera to get down here. Of course, his wife is with him almost everywhere he goes. We got to know her quite well last year during the season, and And I'm sure she's very busy today getting everything packed up. That's a part with the players' wives. I mean, you talk about the money they make and so on and so forth, and all that's true. But Chris, you know, all of a sudden, if you have a wife, you have kids, and they tell you you've been traded to another team, you've got to get there. Everybody else has to pack up and get everything you have where you're supposed to be going next.
You're right about that.
Figuring out where you're going to live. You know, you're going to stay in a hotel for a little while. You're going to get an apartment. Where's the apartment going to be? There's a lot going on. Johnny Cueto, 1 out of 27 is a batter so far this year. Ahead of Zito, 2 balls and no strikes. A couple of hard hit balls in this inning by the Reds, but both of them outs. A 4-pitch walk to a guy who has 1 hit all year. Goodness gracious. Bruce Stubbs had an infield hit to start the 3-run first inning, scored the Reds' first run on a single by Joey Votto. Zito started this inning retiring the first 2 batters on 2 pitches, and now has thrown 6 pitches in a row out of the strike zone before getting a swinging strike on a foul ball there. Field, a base hit. Stubbs 2 out of 2. Cueto on to second base, and the inning continues for Edgar Renteria, who singled to right his first time up.
Well, it looked like Barry Zito was on his way to a very efficient inning. Ramon Hernandez hit either the first or second pitch for an out. Frazier jumped on the first pitch, and then he walked Johnny Cueto on 4 straight. Stubbs gets a base hit, so what looks like could have been a really easy inning for the Giants starter may end up to be another disastrous one if the Reds can string a couple more hits together.
Edgar waiting. Swung on and missed it, a changeup. And 1 on Edgar Renteria, 2 on, 2 out, and Renteria drops it foul and out of play. Of course, there was a time when Barry Zito came up with the Oakland Athletics, where he was joined in that A's starting rotation, a team that went to the playoffs 3 straight years with Tim Hudson and Mark Mulder. And of course, a market-sized franchise like the A's were going to be unable to afford any of them. And Hudson just keeps on going. Zito is scuffling, and Mulder's out of the game. Reds lead 3-0.
Just going out there and battling, not letting them hit their pitch. I mean, making them hit my pitch, and I like to compete, so it's fun for me to not let them do that.
The words from Mike Leake, our Geico direct quote.
Well, what he did last night to those Giant left-handers was just so impressive. I mean, in this ballpark, you cannot be afraid to pitch inside, and he went after a predominantly left-handed hitting lineup, did Mike Leake, with fastballs, sliders, cutters, came right in on him all night long and just ate him up. Second time he's faced the Giants, second time he's had a very good outing. In fact, did not walk a batter, struck out 7. He struck out 8 against the Giants last time he faced them in San Francisco back in June.
You know what's interesting about Leake, and you said it last night, Chris, you and I were talking about it off the air. If this young man stays healthy and continues to progress the way he is progressing, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's got a chance to just win a pile of games in his career at the major league level. You know, really, you look back on last year, and the Reds had to watch where he was from an inning standpoint, a pitch standpoint. Was in the rotation to begin the year, then they shut him down for good by the time he got about a little more than halfway through the year. So in essence, if you include this year, he has pitched one full season in the major leagues, and his record is 17-10. And that's from a guy who went from college baseball to the major leagues.
Right.
So that record is very impressive with the inexperience. Okay, well, where's he going to be now when he gets a year, 2, 3 years under his belt?
Well, he's a real student of the game. He's a guy that sits and listens and learns and is always out early. You know, it's one of the things I'm amazed about Mike Leake, and I've rarely seen this out of a pitcher, but during extra batting practice sometimes I'll see Mike Leake out running the bases, preparing for that time when Dusty Baker may call on him to be a pinch runner. I mean, he's practicing reading balls into the gap, off the bat. I mean, just doing those little things like that that you rarely see pitchers do. Well, we've talked about Johnny Cueto and how he's become more and more like El Tiante. So we've dug up some video of Louis Tiant, and sure enough, there's a similarity. Of course, Louis Tiant pitched 19 years in the major leagues, 229 wins against 172 losses.
Oh, that's a great record, man.
4 times did he win 20 or more games, and he completed 187 games out of something like 480 starts. Boy, he was something else. He pitched a shutout against the Reds right here in Cincinnati in that 1975 World Series.
Game 1.
Yep.
I remember playing in a soccer game that day. That was a day game. Game 1 of that World Series. And little kid here in town and thinking nobody's going to beat the Reds. There's a swing and a miss by Whiteside. If I'm not mistaken, not only did Tiant shut out the Reds, but the Red Sox jumped on Don Gullett very early in that game to beat him, and you thought, oh, man, the Reds lost a game in the World Series?
Yeah.
You know, when you're a little guy, man, you're getting
kidding.
worried. You can't sleep. You're thinking they can't lose to these guys.
Everybody's got their special memories of that game. You know, I drove up nonstop with 3 of my college teammates from Tampa, Florida, and we got some standing room only tickets and somehow found 4 seats in the blue right behind home plate, sitting right behind Frank Robinson and his family, and watched that game. We were on cloud 9.
Well, didn't you have somebody or something? You told me the story one time that was working at the hotel where the Red Sox. It was you were working.
I worked that winter or the previous summer at the hotel, and the Red Sox were staying not downtown, but they were staying up in Sharonville at a Ramada Inn of all places, so that they would stay away from all the followers and the glitz and the distraction. But I knew where they were because one of my secret agents up there called me and told me. We went up there and had a pretty good time.
You still got him running secret agent business up there. Final out of that 1975 World Series. Many still consider that to be the greatest World Series of all time. I guess the closest one that has rivaled that, Chris, in recent years would be the Yankees in Arizona back in 2001. For a long time, that 75 World Series held the distinction of the most one-run games in a World Series until the 01. But when you look, though, at the legendary players on both teams, there you see some of the faces. So many Hall of Famers from both the Reds and the Boston Red Sox. And a lot of guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame that were great players during their time. You know, guys like Ken Griffey Sr. is an example. Well, what a great player he was. Not in the Hall of Fame. Look at the Red Sox. Jim Rice finally got in. Freddie Lynn's not going to go to the Hall of Fame, but well, what a player he was when he was healthy.
Well, of course, Tom, that was just at the very end of the era that where baseball began to change completely. When Andy Messerschmidt was named a free agent and players began to move from team to team, in free agency. And that's why those of us who are alive and remember back in the mid-'70s in the Big Red Machine can name the starting lineup, because every year it was the same, because you didn't have player movement like you do now.
Part of the order for the Reds, leading 3-0 against Barry Zito. Last of the third inning, Joey Votto knocked in the game's first run with a single to right field. 1 ball and 2 strikes. We told you Zito has had a really hard time getting through the first inning, but his ERA gets down to under 4 after the first inning. He's going to retire Votto to start the last of the third.
You know, it happens to a lot of pitchers where that first inning is the toughest inning to pitch until you get your rhythm, until you kind of get the feel of the game, adding and subtracting, especially for a guy like Zito, who now relies so much on off-speed stuff. I mean, he can get you out. What he does is he doesn't really get you out. He just gives you an opportunity to get yourself out. Reds have to just grind it out. They have to continue to just really want it and smell this ball game.
Brandon Phillips had a sac fly to right center field that not only knocked in a run, he stepped up there with runners at second and third, but it also allowed not only the runner to come in from third, but Joey Votto to tag up and go from second to third. And Votto wound up scoring on a single by Jay Bruce. Good swing there, and he fouled it back. You're the Giants. You are in a major predicament in terms of what to do with Barry Zito. I mean, forget about the 2 more years that are left on his contract, as there's a one-hopper that is off the glove of Cabrera. Brandon Phillips aboard with 1 out here in the third inning. You're talking about a guy who is owed nearly $40 million in the next 2 years.
Well, right now he's probably on his last stand as far as being in the Giants rotation. They will get Jonathan Sanchez back off the disabled list in time for him to start next Saturday or Sunday, when after they have a series with the Arizona Diamondbacks, they will host the Philadelphia Phillies. So in all likelihood, Sanchez will take over the spot occupied in the rotation right now by Zito.
You know, the more and more that time goes by, and there obviously are exceptions to the rule, but when you look at baseball over about the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, of the 5, 6, 7-year contracts that were given when that whole thing started, roughly around like 7 years ago, Beltran was one of the first guys to get a 7-year contract, and he's in the final year of that contract. But more times than not, those have turned out to be very bad contracts for the team,
especially towards the very end of the contract. Sometimes if you have an injury like you have had with Carlos Beltran, it can go upside down early on. But you say this, it's at the end of these. Well, what's going to happen with Albert Pujols at the end of this year? He's not going out there and looking for a 3-year deal. I think he's looking for something substantially longer than that.
I mean, it comes to the Cubs, you know, Alfonso Soriano.
Yeah.
I mean, he still is, you know, what, 2 or 3 years left on that deal he signed.
So really, if you're an owner, maybe the way you justify it is, I know that we're at the very back end. It may look bad, so we'll take what we get early on and assume that is maybe even worth more than what we're paying the first few years, and less than what we're worth anyway, is less than what we're paying him the last couple of years, when that particular player gets into his upper 30s and, you know, doesn't become the same player that he was when he was younger.
1-2 the count on Jay Bruce. Struck him out on a high fastball, and that's out number 2.
I guess you come back to, Tom, the same thing in team sports like this, and it's not unique to only baseball, but every team sport you have is the amount of money that you pay a player in a contract is not determined by how well the player plays, but it's determined by the marketplace, what somebody is willing to pay. So it's almost an artificial amount of money. When you're in an individual sport, whether it's golf or tennis, and you're playing for winnings at each championship, you, by your performance, determine how much you make.
Izzy bounced out to the third baseman Sandoval, ending the 3-run first inning. 3 runs, 6 hits so far for the Reds. 2 away with 1 on here in the bottom of the third. And a strike. Reds fans, if a Reds player hits a Toyota sign during our game today, Melody Garland of Edgewood, Kentucky will win the beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win in an upcoming game. Stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Izzy gone on strikes, and that will end the inning. A hit, a man left. We played 3, and the Reds have a 3-0 lead.
Serving America's restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO.
Reds leading 3-0. Good day to be out on the water, that's for sure. Three runs, 6 hits for the Reds. No runs, 1 hit for the Giants. Johnny Cueto has faced the minimum. The only Giant to reach was Jeff Keppinger with a 1-out single in the first inning. And the next batter, Beltran, ended the inning on a double play. Aaron Rowan and a little roller out in front of the plate was thrown out by Ramon Hernandez to begin the game. Jam shot roller to the shortstop, Renteria. 1 out. Come for the Reds, stay for more fun. You can stop by the new Penguin Palooza exhibit across the river at Newport Aquarium and make it a weekend getaway. Book your next trip at Cincinnati, USA.com. Jeff Keppinger digging in. Strike one. Since Johnny Cueto made his season debut, many will remember he began the year on the disabled list, had an injury very late in spring training. His 1.88 ERA, and that's going into the game. It's now down to 1.82. He is the best in the National League, second best to Jared Weaver of the Angels in all of Major League Baseball. Well, he just ate up a very good hitter in Keppinger. 2 down. Pair of ground balls to the shortstop to begin this 4th inning.
Tom, you talk about his earned run average and about how good it is, but it's even better when you consider that he pitches in one of the best ballparks for hitting in all of baseball. Now, there are pitchers that come in here and their knees are knocking because they hate the pitch here because the balls are flying out so fast. Cueto just pitches like a champion, just rises to the occasion, challenges hitters inside.
Carlos Beltran bounced into a 6-4-3 double play to end the 1st inning. And that's off the inside corner to even the count on Beltran at 1 ball and 1 strike. Two and 1 the count on Carlos Beltran. Good fastball at 95 miles per hour. You know, we were talking about contracts and the big free agent money contracts, and you know, you don't want to draw the parallel between those kinds of deals where you're going out and signing a guy and bringing him into a 7-year contract to the sort of deal that the Reds gave guys like, well, Johnny Cueto. You know, guys who are signing contracts long before they're eligible to become free agents. That was a shrewd move by the Redlegs, at least in this first year of the deal, getting Johnny Cueto locked up. He is locking up the Giants on 1 hit through 4. them. Subscribe to MLB.tv today. MLB.tv. Baseball everywhere. Now the Reds here on the home front have jumped on the defending world champions in the first inning. 3 straight games. 4 games in a row overall. Scoring in the opening inning. They got 5 last night and 3 here today against Barry Zito. That might be the best breaking ball of the afternoon from Zito. Strike 1. Two and one count on Ramon Hernandez. Up the third baseline, Sandoval will bare hand. Tell you what, he's played a pretty nice third base in this series. Time now for the Farmers Insurance report card, and we look inside the National League Central, Chris, at key acquisitions clubs have made. It is now officially a done deal. Rafael Furcal on his way from the Dodgers to the Cardinals. He'll join Edwin Jackson, Octavio Dotel, and others. Pirates get Derek Lee. You heard about that. The Brewers, of course, Jerry Hairston Jr. yesterday added Frankie Rodriguez in their bullpen from the Mets a couple of weeks ago. Been a lot going on.
Well, those are the three top teams in the National League Central Division, all thinking that they need a little bit extra to try to keep them in the race.
And that Furcal trade could be a very, very good deal if he's healthy for the Cardinals.
I think all those trades will make a difference for those ball clubs.
That ball driven into deep left field. The first career home run for Todd Frazier. Congratulations, young man. His first home run as a big leaguer. Tell you, he's hit some balls hard since getting a chance to play. And going really from line to line. What a homestand it has been for Frazier. He got his first major league hit, first major league RBIs, and now this.
Take another look at it. He takes a hanging breaking ball right there and stays right on it. That ball left the bat. You knew it had a chance, and Todd Frazier's got one.
You know, it's easy to forget. It was only 2 years ago where Frazier was the #1 prospect in the Reds organization. And then, like a lot of players, as they're coming up single A to double A to triple A, they'll finally have that 1 year of failure. And that year happened last year to Todd Frazier. Then all of a sudden you drop down to 5th, 6th, 7th on that depth chart of top-rated prospects, and you start paying attention to the guys who are in front of him. As that's a nice play by Whiteside. Johnny Cueto retired for the second out of the inning. And now Frazier trying to get back and on the radar with his entire organization again, Chris.
Well, you know, when you're penciled in as a shortstop and then you come to the professional baseball and they say we're going to move you around a little bit, you've got to do it all with your bat. And our Exmo camera shows that nice swing by Todd Frazier. They'll line that ball right on out of here. His first major league home run.
Bruce Stubbs now the batter. Perfect 2 for 2 today.
You know, but it may take something like that. You know, you get a shot at the big league level. and you take advantage of it. If you come up here and you get a short shot, you don't know how long he's going to be up here. And if you look bad, and it's just, if you look out of whack at the plate, or maybe your timing's not right, or you're trying too hard, well, you're trying to impress the guys that are up here, Dusty Baker and the coaches. This is no longer spring training where the month of March, really, people are going to write that off, saying, well, who did he hit it off of? You're doing it on a big league stage right now. That means a whole lot more.
Strike 3 on Stubbs to end the inning. But a memorable moment for Todd Frazier. His first career home run in the big leagues. Boys in the Hall, personal stories of some of baseball's greatest legends, and today it's Ralph Kiner, presented by Subway, where winners eat. Top of the 5th inning, Reds 4, Giants nothing. Johnny Cueto has allowed just one base runner in the game today, and he was erased on a double play, so he's faced the minimum through the front 4 and has retired the last 10. Sandoval to be followed by Shearholtz and Orlando Cabrera. 1-1 on Pablo Sandoval. Slow roller. Cueto will get there. 1 out. 11 straight retired by Cueto. Shearholtz with an 11-pitch at bat his first time up, and ended on a fly ball to straightaway center field. Strike 1 to start his second trip to the plate. 2. They appeal down to third, and no, says Vic Carapazza. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Shearholtz. With 1 out and nobody on in the San Francisco 5th. Phillies have already jumped in front of the Pirates. A 1-0 game. Pittsburgh batting in the top of the 3rd inning. They're underway in Milwaukee. Scoreless at the end of 1. The Brewers and the Astros. This at bat not quite as lengthy. Second strikeout of the afternoon for Johnny Cueto.
Johnny Cueto really beginning to get into a nice little groove right now. Staying strong over the rubber, hiding the baseball, still dials it up to 95. That time he throws a little slider down and in to Shearholtz, and that one had depth. What I mean is it went more down than it did from side to side.
Ball and a strike on Orlando Cabrera. He lined out to the left fielder Chris Heisey. His first time up, his first at bat in a Giants uniform. Breaking ball in there, strike 2 called. Impressive 5th inning. August 12th, the Reds and the Padres stick around after the game for a Sweet Life fireworks show. Those of you with youngsters know what I'm talking about. TV stars Dylan and Cole Sprouse will be around. All thanks to Danimals and Kroger. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. That'll be a big night. All the Friday nights are big nights with the fireworks.
They really are.
I tell you what, there are plenty of tickets available for that next homestand.
Colorado and San Diego coming into town.
Yep. That'll get started on August the 8th. 4 games against Colorado. That's a 7-game stand. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, a Thursday afternoon game. Then Friday and Saturday nights against San Diego. Sunday day game. And the next time the Reds are back, the final week of August, against the Washington Nationals in a 4-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Well, the Reds have certainly played very well against these San Francisco Giants this year. They went out there to the Bay Area, played a 4-game series, split the 4 games in that ballpark. And much like that series against Milwaukee before the break, they kicked themselves because they felt like they should have won 3 out of the 4.
Yeah.
And they've come back here in Cincinnati and really taken it to them. I mean, there has been no fooling around whatsoever. Slight delay. The home plate umpire Marty Foster had to run inside the umpire's room momentarily. Good to see he's back and okay. Well, baseball is such a funny game. You know, the Mets came in here. They were a game under 500 when that series began. They look like the best team in the league for 4 days. And now one of the best teams in the league does indeed come to your ballpark. You've beaten them the first 2 games in a tight one on Friday. Not a laugher, but a big lead to start it last night with a 5-run first. And you jump on them for 3 in the first today, tack on 1 more, and a 4-0 lead. We're in the 5th.
Well, the Giants have had a real difficult time scoring runs on this road trip. Of course, they went through Philadelphia. A lot of teams have difficulty there. But the most runs they've scored in any one game on this trip is 4. When Tim Lincecum beat the Phillies, that is 4-1. They scored 3 against the Reds the other night. The Reds beat them in 13 innings, 4-3. This is not exactly a scoring machine. And you get this ball club, the Giants, out of AT&T Park, which is a cavernous ballpark. I mean, it's almost impossible to hit a home run there unless you just really hit it as well as you can possibly knock it. This is not a ball club that is really geared to play in ballparks like Bank One Field or in Philadelphia.
Citizens Bank
Park, Great American Ballpark here, even in Milwaukee, where it's a pretty good hitter's ballpark. But you have to hand it to them. I mean, they know that in the National League West, there are big ballparks. San Diego, Petco Place, huge.
Well, really, that's the thing that amazes you when you think back to where they had to go to win the World Series last year. I mean, 2 of the best hitters' parks on the planet, where they played the National League Championship Series against Philadelphia, and their pitching just completely stifled that Philadelphia lineup.
Right. Then
you go to Texas for the World Series.
And that's a hitter's ballpark.
That might be the best hitter's ballpark in Major League Baseball. And I mean, you didn't fool around with that team either.
Yeah, but remember, when you're in a postseason, especially the World Series, you're setting your pitching up so that you're running out your number 1, your number 2, your number 3. You never see a 5th starter. You rarely see middle relievers. And that's when the depth of your pitching staff really means it doesn't mean as much. During the regular season, you got to get there. That's when you need a good 5th starter and you need a solid middle relief. You know, it leads you to wonder how well the Giants would play if they were in the National League Central Division, the way their ball club is designed. But they're the world champions. They've got the rings to prove it. And the Reds have just had a pretty good run against them right here in 3 games. Hopefully that they'll be able to hold it out.
And again, it's not always who you play, when you play them. And, you know, obviously the Reds missed the top 2 starters in the Giants rotation this weekend, and Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain. They did get the All-Star Vogelsong in the opener. And certainly the future is very bright for Bumgarner. Fly ball, right center field. Rolling. And Beltran bump into one another. Beltran makes a catch for the first out of the inning.
Well, obviously these guys have not played all that much together. Beltran just being traded over to the Giants this week. And he'll cut in front of Rowan to make the catch right there. Rowan's yelling, I got it, I got it. But there's a pretty good cheer that went up here at Great American Ballpark with a pretty good crowd. I'm not so sure they heard each other until the ball was right on him. Votto did not miss that by much.
Now Brandon Phillips, who had a sac fly run batted in the 3-run first inning, then had an infield hit in the 3rd. Strike 1. I don't know if the stuff is significantly different, but certainly the results are different for Zito. He's only allowed 1 run on 3 base hits over the last 3 1/3 innings after giving up 3 runs and 4 hits in the first. Down the right field line towards the corner, cut off over there by Beltran. Phillips will stop at first, and on to third goes Renteria.
Nice play by Carlos Beltran to hold Phillips at first base. He got over there in a hurry, but really a good bit of hitting by Brandon Phillips. You know, when you hit a breaking ball, and that's a fastball right there, but when you go against a breaking ball pitcher like that, you really got to wait back. And that's maybe why Brandon Phillips hit that fastball the other way, because he was looking for something off speed. Well, that ball stayed straight as a string as it went right down the right field line.
Jay Bruce, runners on the corners, trying to add to a 4-0 lead here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Only 1 out. And a breaking ball is outside and low. Renteria is creeping further and further and further down that line, as Zito, with his back to Renteria, never even glanced over there at him. Of course, you rarely ever see it anymore. It's always been a rarity in baseball, but I mean, it's nearly extinct in the game these days. That's the steal of home. Done by Jay Bruce. Straightaway center field. This will plate another run. How about that? Sac fly RBI by Bruce. He has 2 RBIs today, and the Reds have a 5-0 lead. So now Chris Heisey, who has grounded to third and struck out. 0 for 2 today. Over at first, it's Phillips. Playable for Whiteside, right in front of Jeff Vaccaro down there. I think that's picked down there. He was diving underneath that camera to get out of the way.
Inning. Jim Day with you. We're in the press box. We're following all the trade rumors on this day. 4 o'clock Eastern is the non-waiver trade deadline. Texas Rangers were hot after closer Heath Bell from San Diego, but apparently the price too high. They have settled on Mike Adams, who was going to be the closer in San Diego should Heath Bell be traded. So Mike Adams from San Diego to Texas. So that means that Heath Bell, St. Louis Cardinals have also been hot on his trail. He's still out there for a team to grab before this 4 o'clock deadline. Ryan Ludwig rumored to be going from San Diego to Cleveland. Apparently that asking price was too high. Ludwig is playing today, so we'll see if Cleveland sweetens that deal and Ludwig moves on to the American League. And one other trade to report: the Diamondbacks have acquired Brad Ziegler. That's what we got so far as we go back to the Champion Windows broadcast booth.
Of course, Arizona trying to shore up that bullpen to try and put it together over the final 2 months and make a legitimate run at this Giant team. I mean, heck, they're right there, only 3 games back, and Ziegler will help that bullpen, I would assume. Against Johnny Cueto. 3-1 pitch, fastball to swung on and fouled back out of play. 13 in a row retired by Cueto. The only Giant to reach base was a 1-out single by Jeff Keppinger in the first inning. The next batter grounded into a double play, and that got him on his current roll as that's fouled out of play by Belt. 7, 8, and 9 in the order. There's no action in the Giant bullpen.
Well, it's been a day for Johnny Cueto where his defense has been good behind him, but quite frankly, they have not been tested all that much. A lot of routine, easy plays for the Reds defense. He's allowed 2 fly balls into the outfield. Fly ball by Nate Schierholtz in a long at bat in the second inning, and a line drive by Orlando Cabrera that was right into the glove of Chris Heisey. Other than that, it's pop-ups in the infield or ground balls and strikeouts.
3-2 on Brandon Belt again, and he walked it. First of the game given up by Cueto. All right, Chris, how about our AT&T trivia question today?
Well, what we've got today is this: what 3 teams have traded Orlando Cabrera at the trade deadline in his career? 3 teams that have traded Orlando Cabrera on the last day of the trading deadline.
Well, I'm thinking of 2. I can only guess on a 3rd. Well, we know who one of them is. It just happened last night.
Right.
Well,
that's trading him away. So the one that happened last night, the answer would be Cleveland.
Right. So we'll give you a little while to think about that. We'll do the same. High pop-up, short left field by Whiteside. That's out number 1. Well, the Giants trailing 5-0. We didn't see anybody getting loose in the bullpen, but apparently somebody must have been up, because Aubrey Huff is going to come up to bat for Zito.
I think they just got up, whoever it is, and he's not really throwing hard yet. So if you get a 1-pitch ground ball double play, it'll be real interesting to see whoever that is. Will they be able to get up and get loose quickly enough? He might just be up there taking a pitch.
Guillermo Mota is a right-hander cranking it up down there in the bullpen. Won't take him very long to get loose. There's a jam shot pop up into right. 2 out.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry and you know who you are, let JTM Group help you with great tasting products for your menu, inspired solutions, and better results. JTM.
So Zito goes 5 innings, allows 8 hits, 5 runs, all the runs earned runs. Walked 2, struck out 4. That'll be scored a base hit on that ball off the bat of Aaron Rowan.
Hit hard. Ate him up.
Well, now you've been in full command the entire game. And this is the first hint of a rally put together by the Giants. It's only the second inning of the game where they've had a runner on base at all. First inning where they've had a pair on. Leadoff walk to Belt, 2-out single by Rowan, and strike one to Keppinger, who owns the other Giant base hit all the way back in the opening inning. Check swing and a foul ball. It's 0-2. Two and two on Keppinger. Cueto trying to end this sixth inning, and he does on a check swing and a miss. Hernandez will make sure, and Johnny Cueto picks up his fourth strikeout. He is shutting the Giants out through the front six today. Coors Light sixth inning, and now it's time for the Coors Light freeze can. Miscommunication out there, but the play was made by Beltran, bumping into Aaron Rowan. And that is the Coors Light freeze can, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Guillermo Mota takes over on the mound. Boy, he threw the ball very well here in the series opener. 2 2/3 innings, did not allow a hit, struck out 2, no runs.
Well, he's thrown the ball very well a lot this year. This is what I'm looking for right here with him. 44 strikeouts and only 14 bases on balls. He's a guy that comes right after you.
Ramon Hernandez has been robbed of base hits twice in the game today on nice plays made by the duo over on the left side of the Giant infield. Hot smash to the glove slide of Cabrera in the second inning. And then a slow roller on a barehanded pickup and a nice throw by Sandoval leading off the fourth. Cabrera in the hole this time, cuts it loose. One pitch, one out for Mota. Now time to answer our AT&T trivia questions. The three teams that traded Orlando Cabrera at the deadline during his career. We know about Cleveland. Who else? I'd have missed the one in 09. I thought Montreal probably, because he spent such a long period of time there. I didn't remember Oakland in 09. That was a deal from Oakland to Minnesota. And man, when they got Cabrera in 09, that Twins team took off to reach the playoffs.
He's a real spark plug. We found that out, Tom, in his short time here with the Reds. Always upbeat, always trying to get his teammates to be upbeat. And really the only reason he's not back here, did not re-sign with the Reds. There's no reason the Reds weren't disappointed in him or didn't like him or anything like that. He wanted everyday playing time, and the Reds simply couldn't guarantee that for him.
Two and one on Frazier, who hit his first major league home run his last time up. It's a hard hit ball back up through the middle, backhanded by Keppinger. Well, we're talking about Frazier. I mean, you know, we've seen him, Chris, on this homestand hit the ball down the right field line for a double, hit the ball hard in the right center field gap, left center field when he had a bases loaded double, his first career RBIs, home run to left.
He's got kind of an unusual type of setup and swing, and that's one thing that, you know, scouts and evaluators look at Frazier and say, you know, we're not so sure he can get to the ball consistently at the big league level, but he has done that since he's been up here with that home run to left field earlier off of Barry Zito. That sent him dancing into the streets in Toms River, New Jersey. They haven't done that since he was in Little League and he went to Williamsport.
It's coming up pretty soon, isn't it?
It is.
Tell you what I didn't realize about knot-hole baseball. I did not know until this year here locally. And maybe you're familiar with this, I don't know, but I remember growing up as a kid and had a chance to play in a city championship game, playing for a team out in Anderson, a Midland team, and got beat 4 years in a row by the same team. But I mean, you know, greatest thrill of your life when you're a little guy. But I didn't realize now that the knot-hole city baseball tournament is a double elimination, which has all of a sudden turned that summertime for kids. You know, where it used to be the city tournament, as there's a nice play by Cabrera, was over, you know, about the first week of July. Most of the city championship games were played yesterday, nearly the final day of July.
I like it.
AT&T. Cincinnati Children's ranks 3rd in the nation on U.S. News and World Report's Honor Roll for Best Children's Hospitals 2011. And by your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers.
Family Day, Sunday, August 14th here at the ballpark. The first 10,000 kids 14 and younger get a J. Bruce back-to-school kit thanks to Cincinnati Bell. And don't forget to take advantage of the Meyer Family Day deal where you buy one ticket at full price and you get half off the rest of the tickets. But all that's in advance of game day. Reds and the Padres, Sunday, August 14th, 381 Reds, or visit Reds.com for tickets. Reds lead 5-0. We go to the 7th, and ho-hum, guess what's going on in the Motor City? Guess who's on the mound? We don't even have to put his name up. You got it, Justin Verlander, who literally has become the guy. You know, so many times you hear people talk about pitchers and say, you know, potentially every time he takes them out, he has no hit stuff. There are two guys in the last 20 years where that's true. Every time they take the mound, potentially have no hit stuff. Randy Johnson and now Justin Verlander. Everybody else.
And you're really talking about, Tom, during each of their peak years individually, they're the hardest throwers in the game.
Yeah.
Consistent. I mean, there's obviously every role as Chapman, but I mean, as a starter who start after start after start, nobody throws harder than Verlander. And that's why those scouts are always out there beating the bushes for the guy that can bring it up there.
Line into right center field. That's a base hit by Carlos Beltran to start the Giants' 7th inning. It's only the 3rd hit of the game for the Giants against Johnny Cueto.
He finally got his 2nd hit as a Giant, 1 for 16, until he lines that ball into center field for a base hit that start the 7th inning.
Sandoval is popped to short and bounced out to Cueto.
Well, this guy, it's almost a sure bet that he will swing at the first pitch. I mean, if you throw it anywhere near, he is hacking.
This should be out number 1 in the 7th, and it is.
Where Johnny Cueto not only dealing against the Giants here this afternoon, shutting them out on 3 hits, but being very efficient with his pitches. Here is a 1 out in the 7th inning. This is pitch number 83.
Olds had that long at bat, an 11 pitch at bat in the 2nd inning. Then Cueto took care of him in short order and a strikeout in the 5th. Houston has taken a 3-2 lead over Milwaukee. That might be the first time the Astros have had a lead in that weekend series. They're only in the 4th inning. And the Pirates, that might be their first lead over the weekend in Philadelphia. A 2-1 Pirate advantage. That game in the top half of the 5th. And we are down to the final hour of the trade deadline. 3-2 the count on Shearholtz. A lot of talk now about the Astros considering a trade of Wandy Rodriguez, who is due a lot of money. They don't care so much about the money, the Astros. They like Rodriguez, but if they're going to trade him, they're going to have to be apparently overwhelmed by prospects. It's going to be interesting to see what that Astros team looks like by about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, of course, one of the main reasons why the Astros are being such sellers, they're out of the race, obviously, and rebuilding, but they have new ownership down there. And maybe just that new owner is going to just wipe everything clean and sell the city of Houston on the fact that he's rebuilding. And, boy, they've got a whole bunch of prospects in all the trades that they've made. That they've done their scouting right. They've got a chance in a couple of years to be pretty well armed anyway. What I understand, the hitters that they've gotten, but especially the pitchers that they've gotten from some of these teams and the deals they've made are good ones.
3-2 the count. And a liner caught. Nope, dropped, and this could be a double play. And it is a double play.
Either way, it was a double play.
Middle of the 7th. The Reds with a 5-0 lead. We'll keep it right here for the singing of God Bless America. Thursday, August 11th, take a break from the office. Enjoy lunch with the Reds during the next Paycor Business Day game. Special $25 price for seats in our all-you-can-eat section, thanks to the Business Courier. For tickets at the special price, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Guillermo Mota to lead things off here against Drew Stubbs in the bottom of the 7th inning, and the Reds holding a 5-0 lead. Reds got 3 in the first, and then single runs as Stubbs has his 3rd hit today. Got a home run by Frazier in the 4th inning, and a sac fly RBI by Jay Bruce, who's knocked in 2 today in the 5th.
Well, some days you just have that good fortune of hitting it where they ain't. And that's what Drew Stubbs has done today. Second time he's had a base hit between the third baseman and the shortstop. Hit one up the middle that was fielded by the second baseman Keppinger, but they couldn't throw him out. So Stubbs getting it on the ground, and that's a good sign. I mean, I'd rather see him ground out than fly out any day of the week. So maybe the Reds can play a little bit more add-on.
Renteria singled to right field, scored in the first, struck out in the second, walked and scored in the 5th. Reds 6 outs away from a 3-game series sweep over the defending world champs. Apparently that matchup today where Justin Verlander is working on a no-hitter through 7. He was locked up with the American League starter in the All-Star game, Jared Weaver. And Weaver gave up a home run in the bottom of the 7th inning to give the Tigers a 3-0 lead, drilled the next hitter, and was thrown out of the game. How's he looking?
Good old-fashioned baseball.
So you're saying right on schedule?
Right on schedule. Of course, the guy that's hitting after the player that hit the home run may feel differently. Edgar Renteria had one up and in right there.
There's another one that got away from Mota. That was not a fastball, however. Zito gave up all 5 of the Reds' runs, lasting 5 innings, allowing 8 hits and walking 2. Johnny Cueto working on a 3-hit shutout, where he's walked only 1 while fanning 4. If Cueto gets through the 1 more out in the next inning, he will qualify for the ERA race. He hasn't been able to do that all year long after not pitching the first month plus of the season. So he needed to get through 7 1/3. And once he qualifies, he will immediately go by far to number 1 in earned run average in the National League. Ryan Vogelsong, the leader, at 2.23. The leader in the American League is Jared Weaver, and he's now at 1.88 after giving up 3 runs in 6+ innings today in Detroit. So Cueto will be number 1 in the big leagues. Anybody in Major League Baseball has finished a season with an ERA that started in the 1s since Greg Maddux.
Randy Johnson never did that.
And to right center field with Stubbs on the move. He'll advance first to third. And they're on the corners with nobody out. I don't think so. I mean, that is a rarity in the history of Major League Baseball. Sandy Koufax did it, I think, a couple of times. Bob Gibson did it, I'm quite certain, in that, what, 1968 season before they lowered the pitching mound.
Right. Well, you know, there are in those seasons that you're talking about, Koufax and Gibson seasons, there were other pitchers in the league that were also have close earned run averages. The thing about Maddox that was so amazing that there were a couple of years there, several years, where his earned run average was so much better than everybody else's that it was just quite a remarkable feat.
Well, Maddox did it in '95 with Atlanta. Pedro Martinez in 2000 had a 1.9 ERA. Roger Clemens as recently as 2005. But I believe that's when he came over to the Astros in '05. But in 32 starts, he had an ERA of 1.87.
That would qualify.
That would qualify. But those seasons are rare indeed. Big swing and a miss on a 2-0 fastball by Votto. Two and one, the count on Votto. Infield in. Strike two. Two on Joey Votto. High fly ball straight away center. Did he get it? Mark it down. Batted in today for the Reds' first baseman, and that should more than likely put this baby and this series out of reach.
Well, he had a couple of really good swings in this at bat off of high fastballs off of Guillermo Mota. On a 2-0 pitch, he blew it by him, but tried it again there, and Votto got just enough of it to reach the berm in center field, and a 3-run shot for the Reds' first baseman. Man, that is a classic swing right there. I may try to capture that somehow and put that as my screensaver. That's a good-looking swing. Would you know how to do that?
No idea. Of course, our 8-year-old kids could probably figure it out.
Absolutely right.
17 home runs now on the year, and you see 10 of them to dead central for Joey Votto. Out of the way by Phillips off his foot, it looked like. That thing's barking. 8-0 Reds. Still nobody out here in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Tell you what, if you're the Giants, you know, we know about the deal they made to get Beltran, and they had already picked up Keppinger. They get Cabrera late last night from Cleveland. You know, they're sitting around watching while all the other teams in the West outside of Arizona are basically, you know, trading away so many key pieces to their club. Now, granted, the other 3 teams in the West are all under 500. Colorado, the Dodgers, San Diego. Well, the Giants still have a pile of games left inside their division the rest of the way. I mean, you got to believe they have certainly enhanced their chances. Not that they're not beating them at full strength anyway. But, you know, when the Padres all of a sudden start trading away Mike Adams in their bullpen, or whether or not they trade Heath Bell before the deadline, we'll find out soon. Colorado's traded away their #1 starting pitcher. The Dodgers have traded away for Call, who when healthy is a nice player. His problem has been getting on the field. But they got to love what they're watching. There's a one-hopper that's handled by Belt. On the throw from Sandoval, 1 away here in the inning.
Well, the Giants are the kind of team, Tom, they showed it last year, that if they can get to the playoffs with their pitching the way it is, loaded at the top, Kane and Lincecum, Brian Wilson out in the bullpen. You know, you don't score a lot of runs in the postseason. Those games are usually determined by 1 or 2 runs, and those Giants play in a lot of close ball games, and they've had a superb record this year in those type of games. All they really want to do is get there, and then they'll take their chances.
Well, we talked about how good the Giants have been in 1-run games this year. A record of 28 and 14 on the season.
And so many of those 1-run games are low-scoring games. 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. In fact, I was doing some playing around with the numbers earlier, and nearly 60% of the games that they've played this year, they have scored fewer than 4 runs. 3 runs or less 60% of the time. So when you're a starting pitcher for the Giants, you better hold them down. The other team, that is.
You combine their 1-run games and their 2-run games so far this year. The Giants are 40 and 23 in games decided by 2 runs or less. Man, that's doing it. Because if you just sat down and you looked at the straight numbers and forget the names, you just look at the offensive production and forget about knowing what team it is, you would never think it is even conceivable from a straight statistical standpoint that the Giants are 15 games over 500 when you look at their offense.
Well, if you believe in the Pythagorean theorem, which is how many runs you score versus how many that you give up, their record only should be about 3 games over 500. But they get it done in those close games.
Did you learn that at St. X?
No, Joe Lookup taught me.
Last night. Our Skyline Chili called to the bullpen. State Centers for Sight. Fans 60 and older purchase non-premium tickets at half price in advance of game day only. Plus, each ticket includes free admission on August 11th to the Reds Hall of Fame thanks to Humana. 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com today. All right. Andres Torres will be part of a double switch, replacing Beltran in right. Fontenot takes over for Cabrera at short. And now on the mound is right-hander Ramon Ramirez. We saw him work a perfect inning in the game last night. 3 in, 1 on, 1 out. And that went up underneath Chris Heisey's chin. Did that get a piece of him? Apparently it did. Wonder where it got him. Maybe the jersey?
I think it got him on the wrist, very close to it. At least that's what it looked like. The home plate umpire Marty Foster said. And Bruce Bochy will come out and say, show me again where that got him. I got to figure on a play like that, you just saw Foster get kind of screened out by the catcher. He probably heard something right there. Maybe it got Heisey right on the finger. At this point, 8 runs down. Bochy probably doesn't want to expend the energy it would take to argue that call. He's thinking about that cool bus to the airport about now, just about like everybody else in that Giants roster. Heading back to the West Coast where it'll be 57 degrees when they step off the plane.
Oh, and 1 on Ramon Hernandez. Understand Justin Verlander's no-hitter has come to an end in the top half of the 8th inning. In fact, his shutout has gone too. Angels have scored twice and are still batting. Able to get to it is Rowan, and that's a second out of the inning. Bruce back to second base, and over to first goes Heisey. Hit off the end of the bat by Todd Frazier, who is lined to left, homer to left, his first major league home run, clearing the wall in left field back in the 4th inning. Then he grounded out hard right at Jeff Keppinger in the 6th. Trade deadline right around 33 minutes remaining. And if we're hearing about any big deals coming down the pike here, we'll certainly fill you in. Not that there should be any expectation from where we sit. We're not privy to any sort of inside information. But if you buy into, if it hasn't happened by now, it's probably not going to happen. Looks like the Reds will stand pat for the time being. first career home run for Todd Frazier. So happy for that young man. He's been with us on the Reds Caravan. We've talked about it before.
Oh, yeah.
Traveling around, and that's when you really have a chance to get to know some of these young guys that are coming up through the Reds organization. They'll always have a couple of minor leaguers. I know Devin Mesoraco. Was he with you or my dad last year? Well, you guys are on the same tour, right?
Well, last year I got traded. I got traded to Dusty and Brantley's leg. So I was with Mesoraco the last couple of years.
Okay.
This last year, though, I spent it with Todd Frazier. He's a character.
He really is.
Hey, look who's playing the field.
Yeah, over at first base, Yonder Alonso going to come in. As you saw, Giannis is now at shortstop. And Johnny Cueto is 6 outs away from a shutout of the Giants. Cueto has just been a strike machine. 67 strikes against just 25 balls in the game today. That was his 92nd pitch of the afternoon. 1 out.
Well, you know, it looked good on paper for the Reds before the game, and I know that Dusty saw that and Brian Price saw that, we saw that, but you know, you're so reluctant to think that because, as one wise man once said, Tom Brenneman, the game is played not on paper but on the field. But he has been every bit as good as you would think he would have in a matchup that really favored the Reds.
The glove of Giannis, and Brandon Belt able to reach with 1 out here in the 8th inning.
First error of the ball game. This field could use some water. It'll be interesting really to see how the condition of the field is when the Reds come back off this road trip. Of course, after the Paul McCartney concert that will be here, they'll spend a couple of days putting the stage up for that. Well, I'm sure Declan Mullen and the rest of his crew will make sure that they'll do whatever they can to keep the integrity of this field as one of the better ones around the league.
I tell you, Doug and his entire crew, the grounds crew here at Great American Ballpark, have just done a great job. And this has been as trying a weather spring and summer as there has ever been in the history of this city. In April and May, record rainfall, the most rain ever recorded in the history of Cincinnati in each of those 2 months. And then all of a sudden you go through a stretch here over the last couple of weeks where it has been a heat index anywhere from 100 to 120 degrees every single day. And they're doing all they can. It's not easy. In the air to Frazier, and that'll retire to side, a hit a man left. Cueto may get a chance to finish his 3rd start of the year. He leads 8-0. the game. Orlando Cabrera, our old friend, now wearing a Giants uniform.
No way to treat a former teammate and a good buddy of his in Ramon Hernandez, but man, oh man, he'll be appreciated, I'm sure, by these San Francisco Giant players and the fans. He comes to play every day, Orlando does, and we wish him well once he gets out of town.
Standing ovation for Johnny Cueto as he's introduced to bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and why not? Cueto has allowed only 3 base hits. He has not given up a run to the Giants in 2 starts. I tell you what, Giants will be glad they don't have to see these Reds again so far this year. I mean, the Reds might have had their problems with some of the clubs out there that aren't nearly as good as the Giants. But at least here in 2011, when these 2 teams have gotten together, the Reds are going to end this year with a 5-2 record in the 7 games. Javier Lopez on the mound. Saw him in the opening game of the series. He came on and he was lucky he didn't give up any runs. He was lucky he wasn't a losing pitcher. He walked Joey Votto to begin the 10th inning, allowed a hit to Brandon Phillips. That's when the Reds had the bases loaded with only 1 out and did not score. That ball driven. What a play made by, no, he did not get it. Thought that Aaron Rowan had made that catch in spectacular fashion. But apparently when he hit the ground, that ball squirted out of there. That'll be a double for Drew Stubbs and a 4-hit day for the Red center fielder.
Well, there was a time when Aaron Rowan was one of the best center fielders in all of baseball. You turn on the highlight film and you'd see him almost on a nightly basis make a play like that, and he nearly makes a miraculous one right there. I'll tell you what, when you're down 8-0 and you see your center fielder lay out for a ball like that, that's got to help you be a little inspired. I like that.
Catch made out in right field by Torres, and they're 2 away in the inning. On Yonder Alonso, we've seen this young man come up and hit the ball very hard a couple of times already off the Reds bench. Had a base hit in a game here on Friday night. 2 out of 3 since being brought up from Louisville, all pinch hit appearances. This one not technically a pinch hit at bat, as he replaced Joey Votto at first in the top of the inning. Question is, will we start seeing Yonder Alonso get some playing time out in left field? We're getting a look at him here right now, Chris, against a very good left-hander.
Well, he's a left-hander, and Javier Lopez that has made a living for a long time coming in to get left-handed hitters out. So this is a good test for Alonso.
Started to, took a pitch down and away, and that runs the count full.
I've always thought that a left-handed hitter, especially a young guy, will really benefit from facing a left-handed pitcher from time to time. You have to concentrate more. It's a different release point. Breaking pitches are completely different. And it makes you a better hitter against right-handers.
It's funny you say that, because that's something that Mark Grace used to talk about when he and I worked together for years. He said, you know, a lot of times when a left-handed batter is scuffling a little bit and then you'll face that one left-handed pitcher, the manager will sit you down. But Grace was the kind of guy that in his career was always good against lefties and righties.
Sure.
But when he was scuffling, said normally the right antidote to get back on track was what you just said: face a left-handed pitcher.
Well, what happens with most hitters, I mean, it's the same thing, is that you pull off the ball. Your front shoulder flies open, your bat lags behind, and everything from there goes bad. That's the most common thing that happens to every hitter at every age. Well, the one thing when you face, if you're a lefty facing a left-handed pitcher, in order to hit that guy, you've really got to concentrate on keeping your front side in there. And even if you do it in batting practice, so you create a good habit that you can carry on into the game.
It's been a pretty good at bat right here for Yonder Alonso. He's never seen this left-hander. Comes from way down under. He's worked it full. And a base hit into right field. Going to wave around the runner Stubbs, and he will score. Yonder Alonso, 3 out of 4. And his first RBI here in 2011. That young man can hit.
I'll tell you, his bat travel from the point of start to contact with the ball, it doesn't take him long to get there. And that was right on the barrel.
You know, Dusty Baker made the comment. He said, you know, everybody was screaming to see Chris Izey early in the year when they were maneuvering the left field position among the trio of Izey and Gomes and Fred Lewis. And now he said everybody wants to see Alonso. Well, you know what? He's right. And people do want to see Alonso.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, even the most hardcore Reds fan, most of the time, not every time, most of the time, it's the #1 pick year in and year out that you're going to remember the name. And a guy like Alonso had such a decorated collegiate career. I mean, ever since the Reds signed him out of Miami, everybody's been keeping an eye on what he's doing, how well he's playing. And after you hear about a guy for a couple of years, and all of a sudden now he's put together a year which warrants him to come to the big leagues. Not saying it's right, wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. People don't want to hear about the guy can't play left field. That's for Dusty Baker and his coaching staff to worry about. The regular fan, and rightfully so, and you and I are no different. We want to see that guy swinging a lumber.
He's swinging it pretty good right now.
Cueto with a chance to complete it in a shutout bid. field. Off Guillermo Mota with 2 aboard in the 7th inning. That made it an 8-0 game. A Yonder Alonso base hit has made it 9-0. That number 3 hole today has been a pretty good spot for the Reds.
Really?
3 hits and 5 RBIs.
The first 3 in the order have been very good. In fact, all the runs but 1 have been scored by those guys hitting in the top 3 in the order. The only other one, of course, was the home run by Todd Frazier, batting number 8. Johnny Cueto, 3 outs away from his 2nd major league shutout.
Johnny Cueto has thrown 1 shutout in his major league career. That goes back to last season on the 11th of May against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It would be the first shutout by a Reds pitcher since the following day in that same series. You may remember that's when Cueto and Homer Bailey pitched back-to-back shutouts at PNC Park on the 11th and 12th of last year.
In fact, Johnny Cueto's game was a 1-hitter.
We mentioned earlier, Cueto is now a qualifier for the league lead in ERA, and he will be the major league leader in ERA. That's strikeout number 1 to get Rowan to open the ninth. 5th of the game overall for Cueto.
Well, this kid has come such a long way since the Reds signed him when he was 16 years old down in the Dominican Republic. And if you believe the stories, the story that I had heard about Johnny Cueto, when he threw his first bullpen for the first Red scout that he ever saw down there, he threw it in bare feet. They were down there to look at another player, and someone, one of the bird dogs down there, told the scouts that, hey, you ought to see this kid throw too. They brought him out behind his house, and he's throwing a bullpen in bare feet. And they said, yep, we like his arm.
And then, Chris, as you know, you were here a lot longer than I have been. When he first started making his way through the Reds minor league system, I mean, this was a guy everybody was talking about, Cueto. That once he got here, that he was going to be the best of anybody they had at the time, and really that included after they drafted Homer Bailey.
Well, it was the quick answer to someone who would ask, when are the Reds going to be good? And they'd say, when Johnny Cueto learns how to pitch in the major leagues.
He's gotten better and better statistically every single year, and that's all you can ask, is a guy getting better. Well, right now, there are guys who have longer resumes that have accomplished more among all National League pitchers. But if there's a conversation right now, today, as we're set to begin the month of August, about the top 3 or 4 pitchers in the National League, you better put Johnny Cueto in that conversation, or you clearly don't know what you're talking about. .6-mile-per-hour gas. As the Reds are an out away from a complete game shutout by Cueto, and an out away of a 3-game sweep. Two. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Fontenot. Johnny Cueto, a complete game, 3-hit shutout. Throwing an exclamation point on perhaps the best series the Reds have played this entire year. A 3-game sweep over the defending world champion Giants. And Johnny Cueto, who now qualifies in the ERA race, is #1 in the major leagues in earned run average. Did you bring this broom into the booth that all of a sudden my son Luke pulled out of the closet a moment ago?
Well, we put it in the closet before the game. Tom didn't want to jinx anybody, but I told Luke, if the Reds are able to take it today, what does it mean? And Luke told me that's a 3-game sweep, and here he is with the broom.
And with 2 outs in the inning, he said, I got to get back to that closet and get a hold of that broom. Good going, young man. You were a good boy today. Johnny be good. Mercy. What a night. What a day for Cueto.